What is the Holocaust? The Holocaust was a systematic genocide of the Jewish people who lived in Europe during the reign of the Nazis in Germany. During the Holocaust, at least 6 million Jewish people from Germany, German-occupied and German-allied territories were killed, mostly in various death camps located in occupied Poland. But how did Germany come to commit such devastating atrocities? Well, the root of the Holocaust is anti-Semitism. Hate and prejudice against the Jewish people existed in Europe for thousands of years before the Nazis came to power. Christians blamed Jews for crucifying Jesus Christ during the Roman Empire. During medieval times, Jews became the scapegoats of Europe and were blamed for almost everything bad happening, including the Black Death bubonic plague pandemic, which occurred in 14th century Europe. In reality, the spread of bubonic plague was caused by the Mongol invaders from Asia. Even prominent Christian religious figures such as Martin Luther held strong anti-Semitic views. Jewish people were so hated that they were forced to live in segregated ghettos. And despite even being segregated, Jews were still blamed for every societal trouble, so pogroms were happening constantly. Pogroms were brutal, violent attacks against Jewish communities, which often resulted in death of hundreds of Jewish people at once. These pogroms were especially prominent in the Russian Empire. In 1905, at least 400 people were killed during violent Odessa pogrom. The word pogrom comes from the Russian language. In 1894, a Jewish officer, Alfred Dreyfus, who served in the French army, was wrongly accused of spying for the German Empire. The Dreyfus case was fabricated, and a man sent to possibly the worst island prison in history, infamous Devil's Island, right off the coast of South America. All this historic information to better understand how Jewish people were treated in the European societies, which helps us to better understand how the Holocaust could even happen in supposedly civilized Europe. In 1918, Germany lost the First World War. The German Empire dissolved. Germany was demilitarized, lost territories, and had to pay enormous reparations to allies France and Britain, which caused terrible inflation and joblessness in Germany. That's where an infamous mustache man named Adolf Hitler comes into this story. Hitler became a member of a new radical party called NSDAP, a National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, more commonly known as the Nazis. Hitler quickly rose to become the leader of the party. He held strong anti-Semitic views and accused Jews of stabbing Germany in the back and making Germany lose the First World War. All that was, of course, a far-right conspiracy theory. Hundreds of thousands of Jewish soldiers and officers served in the German and Austro-Hungarian armies and lost their lives fighting against the Entente. But Hitler, of course, did not care about that. The Nazis ran an anti-Semitic campaign. They promised to radically improve the situation for struggling German people. In his book Mein Kampf, Hitler promised to rid Germany of Jews who he considered to be Untermensch or subhumans. When the financial situation was improving, the Nazis were a fringe party without much support. But then the Great Depression happened in 1929, which threw Germany back into the economic turmoil, so millions of Germans voted the Nazis into power. In 1933, Hitler became a chancellor. In 1934, President Hindenburg died of old age, so Hitler became the dictator of Germany. The Nazis purged all their political opponents, and Hitler purged other prominent figures within the Nazi party, such as this guy named Ernst Röhm, who was the head of the stormtroopers. After Röhm's death, Hitler became the sole unquestionable leader of the NSDAP. Thus, the Holocaust began. At first, the Jewish people were discriminated against. They couldn't attend public spaces, have relationships with white Aryan German people. Jewish businesses were boycotted. Jewish people who were accused of violating the law were sent straight to concentration camps in Dachau and Buchenwald. In 1935, the Jews were stripped of German citizenship. The Jews were easy scapegoats because in a country of 67 million people, there were only about 500,000 Jews, and most Germans didn't know any Jewish people. Hitler and his accomplices created a plan to expel all the Jews from Europe, known as the final solution to the Jewish question. Later this plan would become way more vicious and sinister than just forcefully relocating people away from Europe. In 1939, Hitler started the Second World War by invading Poland. About 3.3 million Jews lived in Poland at that time. From 1939 to 1941, Nazis occupied large territories in Benelux, France, Poland, Norway, Denmark, and the Balkans. Millions of Jews were persecuted by the Nazi regime. In 1941, Hitler invaded the Soviet Union. This is when the genocide started. The Nazis decided it would be much easier to just exterminate Jewish people rather than relocate them. By 1942, several death camps made specifically to exterminate undesirable people, including Jews, were created in Poland. Here is the list of the worst death camps and how many Jewish people were killed in them. The people in these camps were killed mostly by gassing, but also by shooting, medical experimentation, and hard labor. By May 1945, around 6 million Jewish people were killed for just being Jewish. This was the worst genocide in recorded history. In 1945, at least 6,000 people were exterminated in Auschwitz-Birkenau daily. Large percentage of these people were Jews. Jewish people were also subjected to various human experimentation conducted by doctors like Josef Mengele, who was known as the Angel of Death in Auschwitz. Nazi experiments included experiments with icy water, bubonic plague, and atmospheric pressure. Lots of doctors were also SS officers. This ended in 1945 when Allies liberated death in concentration camps across Nazi-occupied territories. We know so much because the Nazis themselves meticulously recorded everything that was happening in death and concentration camps. Later, the war criminals were prosecuted in Nuremberg trials, which took place in Germany after the war ended. Today you can visit Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum in Poland and see those places where prisoners were subjected to inhumane suffering. If you want to learn more about the Holocaust, you can visit the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, Israel. Millions of people visit the museum yearly. Thanks for watching this video. Stay curious. Hopefully I'll see you again very soon. And goodbye.